Professor Misty looked at the clock for the 10th time that morning. The school bell would ring soon, signalling the start of classes. She adjusted her wavy brown hair and smoothed her navy blue pencil skirt, trying to shake off the anxiety she felt. It was her wedding anniversary, but so far there was no sign that her husband Sheldon had remembered the date. 10 years ago, on that same day, she and Sheldon had exchanged vows in a simple ceremony in her parents' garden. The sun was shining, the flowers scented the air, and smiles never left their faces. It seemed like it was yesterday. Misty sighed, fondly remembering that special day. Since then, a lot had changed. Routine and responsibilities gradually took up space in their lives. Misty had become a history teacher at the local school, while Sheldon was building his career as a project manager at a construction company. Their busy days didn't always leave time for romantic gestures. Still, every year Misty made a point of preparing something special to celebrate the date. Breakfast in bed, a candle-lit dinner, creative gifts. She always made an effort to keep the flame of romance alive. But this year, she decided she wouldn't do anything. Let's see if he remembers on his own, she thought, somewhat resentfully. The bell rang, and Misty took a deep breath, pushing the thoughts away. It was time to focus on work. She entered the classroom, greeting the students with a warm smile. For a few hours she managed to distract herself by teaching about the Industrial Revolution. During the break, she checked her cell phone. No message from Sheldon. Her heart sank a little. Had he really forgotten? Misty vividly remembered how it all started, exactly 12 years ago. On that day, she had been tasked with an important mission by her group of friends to pick up the birthday cake from the bakery for a surprise party they were organizing for one of their friends. She walked carefully through the streets, balancing the delicate cake box with caution, when suddenly she heard a shout coming in her direction. Before she could react, everything became a blur. The cake, she and a young man on an out-of-control bicycle were on the ground. The cyclist, visibly embarrassed, hurried to help her while mumbling rushed apologies. He said the bicycle's brake had broken. Misty, still stunned and with her clothes covered in frosting, could hardly believe what had happened. The young man introduced himself as Sheldon and, insisting on making amends, immediately offered to buy a new cake. Although annoyed, Misty accepted the apology and accompanied him back to the bakery. While waiting for the new cake, the two talked briefly, she still with a stern expression, him enchanted by the tempestuous manner of that young woman who looked at him with suspicion. When it was time to pay, they both placed their phones on the counter and absent-mindedly ended up swapping the devices. They quickly said goodbye. Misty hurried back to the party, still grumbling about the incident, while Sheldon left wondering how someone so grumpy could be so fascinating. Already at the party, when Misty heard a cell phone ringing from her purse, she found it odd. It wasn't her usual ringtone. Upon checking, she realized the mistake. The phone rang again. It was Sheldon calling from her phone to propose the exchange. Sheldon cycled to the location of the party to return the device. Misty's friends, curious about the story, invited him in. Surprisingly, Sheldon quickly mingled with the group, spreading friendliness and good humor. And it was like this, amid a disastrous accident, a ruined cake and a phone exchange, that an unlikely love story began, one that no one could invent, yet life writes perfectly. Returning his thoughts to the present, the rest of the school day dragged on. Misty alternated between moments of irritation with Sheldon for seemingly forgetting the date and frustration for not feeling that her husband valued the marriage. In the late afternoon, unable to hold back her emotions any longer, Misty called her mother. She needed to vent to someone. "Mum, you won't believe it. Sheldon completely forgot our wedding anniversary. Not a message, not flowers, nothing," Misty lamented, her voice choked with emotion. On the other end of the line, her mother was silent for a few moments before responding calmly. "Daughter, let me ask you a few questions. How many times has Sheldon forgotten to pay your home's mortgage, or the credit card bill, and the water and electricity bills?" Misty frowned, confused by the change of subject. Never, Mum. He's always been very responsible with those things. And how many times has he failed to provide what your family needed? Or when you fall ill, who takes care of you? Continued the mother. Sheldon, of course, Misty replied, beginning to understand where her mother was going. Exactly, dear. Of course, it would be lovely if Sheldon remembered the wedding anniversary date, but the fact that he forgot doesn't mean he doesn't care or doesn't think about you. There are acts of love in everyday life that are much greater than a bouquet of flowers on a special date. Her mother's words touched Misty's heart deeply. She was right. Sheldon had always been a loving husband, a present companion, someone she could rely on at all times. The fact that he didn't remember a specific date shouldn't erase all the gestures of love he showed daily. Even so, Misty didn't feel ready to go home. Upon leaving work, she decided to take a walk around the mall, trying to organize her thoughts and feelings. As she walked through the brightly lit hallways, looking at the store windows without really seeing them, her mother's words echoed in her mind. She remembered all the times Sheldon prepared dinner when she came home exhausted from work, the nights when he massaged her sore feet after a long day of classes, the care with which he always listened to her concerns and offered support, the little love notes she sometimes found in her purse or on the fridge. Misty felt a wave of guilt and regret. How could she doubt Sheldon's love because of a date on the calendar? He showed his love every day in ways much more meaningful than gifts or celebrations. With this conclusion, Misty decided to go home. She was eager to see Sheldon, to hug him and tell him how much she loved him. She wanted to apologize for being upset and thank him for everything he did for her. When she got home, everything was silent. She heard the sound of the shower. Sheldon must be taking a bath. Misty went to the kitchen, feeling thirsty after the long day. She opened the refrigerator to get some water, and at that moment her eyes widened. There, in the middle of the shelf, was a cake. But it wasn't just any cake. It was identical to the one she was carrying the day she met Sheldon, the same one that ended up on the ground after the collision with his bicycle. Misty's eyes filled with tears. At that moment, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned and saw Sheldon standing in the kitchen doorway, his hair still damp from the shower, a shy smile on his lips. Misty ran to hug him, tears now streaming down her face. "Honey, you remembered!" she exclaimed, her voice choked with emotion. Sheldon hugged her back, stroking her hair. "Actually, I have to confess something," he said with a somewhat guilty look. "It was your mother who called me and reminded me. I'm sorry for being such a terrible husband." Misty pulled away slightly, looking into his eyes. "You are the best husband I could ever have," she said with conviction. "You might not have remembered a specific date amidst so many daily commitments, but you have remembered so many other important things throughout the time we've been together." She paused, wiping away her tears. "I love you, and the fact that you remembered exactly the cake from when we first met is the greatest proof that our marriage matters to you." Sheldon smiled, relieved. "I love you too, Misty, more than words can express. I'm sorry for not always being as romantic or attentive as you deserve." "No, love," Misty interrupted him. "I'm the one who should apologize. I was so fixated on this date that I almost forgot all the gestures of love you show me daily. That's much more important than any celebration." The two stayed embraced for a long time, just enjoying each other's presence. When they finally separated, Sheldon suggested, "How about we order a pizza and watch a movie, then we can cut the cake?" Misty agreed enthusiastically. It was a simple celebration, quite different from the elaborate celebrations she used to plan, but somehow it seemed perfect. Sitting on the sofa, savoring slices of pizza and exchanging loving glances, Misty realized she didn't need grand gestures or expensive gifts to feel loved. True love was in the small everyday moments, in each other's company, in mutual support and understanding. When it was time to cut the cake, Misty couldn't help but smile, remembering that fateful day when they met. how an apparently disastrous accident ended up being the beginning of something so beautiful and lasting. "You know," she said, as Sheldon served 2 generous slices of cake, "I think we should celebrate not only our wedding anniversary, but also the day we met, the day of the smashed cake." Sheldon laughed. "I like the idea. We can make it a tradition. Every year on this day I promise to drop a cake at your feet." Misty playfully patted his arm, laughing as well. "Don't even think about it. I'd rather we and the cake remain intact." As they savoured the sweet treat, recalling funny and emotional moments from their shared history, Misty felt a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the love they shared, for the experiences lived, and for the challenges overcome side by side. She realized that the true anniversary gift wasn't the cake or any material object. It was the certainty of having by her side someone who loved her unconditionally, who supported her at all times, and who was building with her day after day a life full of love and companionship. That night, as they lay down, Misty and Sheldon exchanged a kiss full of tenderness. They were no longer the impulsive young people who fell in love at first sight amidst a cake disaster. They were a mature couple who had learned that love is built and strengthened in the little things, in daily kindnesses, in constant partnership. And so, embraced, they fell asleep with smiles on their lips, grateful for the love they shared and eager for the many adventures they would still experience together. Because in the end, it wasn't the perfection of a celebratory date that mattered so much, but the beauty of a shared life, with all its ups and downs, laughter and tears, challenges and achievements. That wedding anniversary, which began with doubts and hurt, ended up reaffirming the love and commitment between Misty and Sheldon. And it served as a precious reminder that true romance lies not in occasional grand gestures, but in the care and dedication shown every day, in the small acts of love that weave the tapestry of a happy and lasting marriage. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.